Hello, Fort Worth. It's great to be with you here today. I'm Hadley Werner on behalf of Frost bankers who work hard every day to make someone's life a little easier. Thank you for having us. We're pleased again to be the presenting sponsor of the Fort Worth Chamber's 144th annual meeting. And isn't it special to be an iconic venue like this one? At Frost, we're helping communities and cities grow and prosper since Thomas Claiborne Frost founded our company in Texas back in 1868. And yes, that means we've been around since before air conditioning, the telephone, and the few traffic delays that you went through getting here. A lot has changed since then, but our purpose hasn't. Our values, integrity, caring, and excellence guide us in everything we do. They're not just words on a wall, they show up in how we treat our customers and our communities. That's why we say everyone deserves a bank like Frost, and yes, we really mean everyone, even those other bankers out there. For more than 158 years, Frost has focused on doing banking the right way, building long-term relationships, delivering exceptional service, operating with strong ethics and sound fundamentals. Today, we serve customers through more than 200 full-service financial centers across Texas, the state's largest ATM network, and digital tools that let you bank efficiently and effectively. Right here in Tarrant County, we're proud to support the organizations and efforts that make this region thrive. This year alone, Frost will contribute more than $2.3 million to more than 300 Tarrant not-for-profits, schools, hospitals, social service organizations, museums, you name it. That's on top of the thousands of volunteer hours from our bankers who serve on boards, mentor others, and help out on local projects. So it turns out Frost bankers are really pretty good at spreadsheets and rolling up their sleeves to get the work done. As we continue to expand across Texas, Fort Worth and the Tarrant County region are absolutely in our sights. We see tremendous opportunity here, and we're excited about what's ahead. Whether you walk into a Frost location, tap your app, stop by one of our ATMs, or talk to a real person, and yes, a real Texan on our 24/7 customer care line, you're going to feel the difference that Frost makes. Personal, local, and genuinely invested in you. So on behalf of all of us at Frost, welcome, and thank you for letting us be part of this event. Let's make it a great year, Fort Worth.
A woman was depositing a check at the bank. But when it fell into a storm drain, the Frost banker went in and got it? Unreal. Frost is so money.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the President and CEO of the Fort Worth Chamber, Steve Montgomery.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Hadley, thank you so much for your ongoing support for the Chamber and the work that we do. And welcome everybody to our 2026 annual meeting. It's great to see so many business and civic leaders gathered here today in one of the Fort Worth's most iconic venues, the historic Will Rogers Auditorium. For nearly a century, this stage has hosted some of the biggest names in entertainment, culture, and music. Legends have stood right here, performing for generations of Fort Worth families. Willie Nelson, Ray Charles, Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, Jimi Hendrix, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and of course, the William Monning Middle School Band. It's a place that reminds us just how deep the roots of this city run. And it's a fitting place for us to gather today because this year's theme is the modern chamber, legacy-driven and future-focused. For more than 140 years, the Fort Worth Chamber has been part of the story of Fort Worth. Generations of business leaders, some in this room, have come together through this organization to build the strong pro-business environment that makes Fort Worth such a great place to live, work, and invest. That legacy matters. But if there's one thing we know about Fort Worth, it's that we don't just celebrate our history, we build on it. Today, Fort Worth is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Our economy is expanding. Our business community is diversifying. And the opportunities in front of us are bigger than ever. And that's why the Chamber must continue to evolve. Being a modern chamber means honoring our foundation that brought us here while constantly adapting to meet the needs of today's businesses and tomorrow's economy. It means being the leading voice of business in Fort Worth. It means advocating for policies that support growth and opportunity. It means connecting businesses with resources they need to succeed. And it means bringing together leaders from across the community to tackle the big issues that shape our future, from workforce development to infrastructure and mobility to business expansion. But at the center of it all, of all that work, is something very simple, and that's our members. The businesses and organizations that invest in the Chamber with their time, their treasury, and their talent. And the reason we do what we do, and the reason we're able to do it, is because of you. Every decision our team makes, every initiative we launch, every conversation we have with policymakers starts with one question: what is best for our members and for the future of Fort Worth? Our success as a community doesn't happen by accident. It happens because leaders like you invest, show up, collaborate, and believe in what the city can become. So, thank you for your leadership, your partnership, and your commitment to Fort Worth. Today, we're going to celebrate what we've accomplished over the past year, but more importantly, we're going to look ahead to what it means to be a modern chamber in a modern, fast-growing city. Before we get started, I want to take a Fort Worth minute to recognize the partners who have made today possible. A special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Frost Bank. Thank you, Hadley, for your long-standing partnership and commitment. Thank you to our friends at TTI for hosting our Centennial Club reception following today's program, and I'm excited to share more information about that later on. Our keynote is presented by our great partners at the University of Texas at Arlington. Go Mavs. And this amazing stage is sponsored by our good friends at American Airlines, celebrating their 100th year this year. Pretty amazing. And you may have seen the airplane, the vintage plane on the screen before I came up, and if you pay attention throughout the course of the program, you'll see different aircraft throughout the program. The Susan Halsey Executive Leadership Award is presented by Jackson Walker. Thank you, Jackson Walker, for your support. The Chairman's Spirit of Enterprise Award is sponsored by Higginbotham. And we're also grateful to our platinum sponsors, Baylor Scott & White, thank you, Charles. EECU, thank you, Lonnie. Kelly Hart, thank you, Marianne and Dee. And Benny Keith, thank you so much, Mike. And our gold, silver, and specialty sponsors. Thank you for your investment in the work of the Chamber and in this great city. Please take a moment to look at this amazing list of amazing companies and organizations. And I also want to recognize the leadership that helps our organization succeed, our executive board and our board of directors. Your time, your guidance, your advice, and your commitment to helping keep the Chamber strong and moving forward. Would all the board members of the Chamber please stand to be recognized? And finally, we're honored to have so many elected officials with us today, from City Hall to the county courthouse, from our school districts and colleges, our regional water district, and to our state and federal leaders. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your partnership with the Fort Worth business community. If you would please stand to be recognized, all elected officials. And finally, to all the ladies and gentlemen in the room, thank you so much for being here. Join us in honoring the legacy that built this organization and embracing the future we're building together. Now, let's get started.
is Susan Halsey Executive Leadership Award. Please welcome Joel Haydenberg from Jackson Walker.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly an honor for Jackson Walker to once again sponsor the Susan Halsey Executive Leadership Award, a recognition that holds deep meaning for all of us who had the privilege of knowing and working alongside Susan. Susan passed away in 2014 after a courageous battle with cancer. It's hard to believe she's been gone that long. This award recognizes the qualities she embodied: insight, discernment, and the ability to inspire. The kind of leadership that strengthens organizations and shapes communities. Susan represented the very best of what leadership looks like in Fort Worth: visionary, collaborative, and deeply committed to the success of this city. She understood that great leaders not only build strong organizations, but they also build a stronger community. In many ways, that idea perfectly fits the theme of today's event: a community that is legacy-driven and future-focused. Leaders honored by this award are people who respect the foundation that came before them while also helping move our city forward. This year, we are proud to present the 2026 Susan Halsey Executive Leadership Award to Bob Jameson, President and CEO of Visit Fort Worth. I'll say a few more things while Bob makes his way. For more than 2 decades, Bob has been one of the most consistent and effective champions for the city of Fort Worth. Through his leadership at Visit Fort Worth, he has helped elevate our city as a premier destination for conventions, major events, and tourism, bringing millions of visitors and billions of dollars of economic impact to our community. But Bob's impact is not just measured by numbers. He's been a collaborator, a connector, and a true ambassador for Fort Worth. Someone who understands the success of an organization is tied to the success of the entire community. Under his leadership, Fort Worth has continued to grow his national reputation while holding on to the authentic character and hospitality that we all know and love. That kind of leadership, rooted in legacy but always looking forward, is exactly what the Susan Halsey Executive Leadership Award was created to recognize. Please join me again in congratulating this year's honoree, Bob Jameson.
You know, I can recall when this award was initiated and the fact that Susan represented everything that Joel just described for you. And certainly that was something I saw and experienced as she was such an incredible representative of Jackson Walker, the Fort Worth Chamber, and all the other organizations that she served on. She was a real leader for this community. I've also attended this meeting in all the years since the award was started, and I've seen who's been presented with this recognition, and I can just tell you it is incredibly humbling and a sense of real gratitude to be recognized in the company of those people that have come before me in this kind of honor. Thank you very much to the Chamber. Thank you very much, Jackson Walker. And you know, it has been a humbling and wonderful, joyful experience to represent the city and to represent all of you as we've told the story all around the world. Thank you.
Now taking the stage, your 2025 Chairman of the Board, Brian Newby.
Now there was a time.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you all here today, and it's truly been an honor to be your 2025 Chairman of the Board of the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce. As I look back on the last year, I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished together and the successes that we've had, but I'm even more optimistic about what lies ahead. 2025 was a year defined by momentum. Fort Worth continued to stand out as one of the most competitive, dynamic business environments in the state of Texas. We saw exceptional growth across the energy sector, continued expansion in our tech ecosystem, and a manufacturing base that remains one of the strongest drivers in the region. These sectors didn't just perform well, they helped carry our city to record levels of economic activity and job creation. But what makes Fort Worth such an incredible place to do business isn't just our economic profile, it's our unity of purpose. You know, I thought the other day about the history of Fort Worth, and 26 years ago, a lot of you will recall, an F2 tornado ripped through the heart of downtown Fort Worth, killing 5 and causing $500 million in property damage. You know what? The Chamber is who led the way to reopen business, and the Chamber has never stopped leading. Just like in 2000, every initiative we pursued this year was grounded on a commitment to deliver real value to our members and to create an environment where businesses of all sizes can succeed. The Chamber's mission to bring this region together also identifies challenges, but develops solutions and aligns resources that have been never more relevant and more visible than what we have today. Our focus is remaining as an anchor of our core principles: leadership, engagement, and advocacy. You know, every week we brought together business leaders who shared a belief in Fort Worth's potential. Every month we engaged with partners across industries to strengthen collaboration and accelerate progress. And throughout the year we advocated in Washington, in Austin, and at City Hall for policies that support growth, competitiveness, and long-term prosperity. 2025 saw significant strides in business retention and expansion. Companies that call Fort Worth home continue to grow because they feel supported here. They feel connected here. They know that the Chamber is committed to making sure they have the resources and the relationships that they need to thrive. You know, that work doesn't always make headlines, and none of these accomplishments happen by accident. They are the product of a dedicated Chamber staff, a committed board of directors, an active investor base, and embody the best of Fort Worth spirit. And to each of you in this room, you've contributed your time, energy, leadership, and expertise. And all I can do is thank you. It's been incredible. Your partnership is what drives our success as an organization and what keeps Fort Worth moving forward. Serving as your chair has been one of the great privileges of my professional life. I've had the opportunity to witness not only the progress we've made, but the passion and determination behind it. I've seen firsthand how deeply and committed this community believes in the future of our city and how committed we are to building that future together. As I pass the gavel, I want to express my sincere appreciation to my colleagues on the board, to Steve Montgomery for his leadership and vision, and to the entire Chamber team for their tireless work and unwavering professionalism. And finally, it's my honor to introduce someone who embodies the very best of Fort Worth's business community, our 2026 Chairman of the Board, a leader who understands this city, who deeply cares about its growth, and who is perfectly positioned to build on the strong foundation we've set this year. Ladies and gentlemen, our new chairman. Please join me in welcoming Mike McAuliffe.
let's give one more round of applause for Brian and all the leadership he's provided the Chamber over the last year. So. Good afternoon, everyone. As you look up at these screens and see the logos rolling by, you'll recognize something really important. Every one of those logos represents a business owner, a risk taker, an employer, and a belief in Fort Worth. I'm proud to stand here today as chairman of the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, but more importantly, I'm proud to stand here as a fellow chamber member for the past 30 years. So let me start with one simple question. Why are you a chamber member? Think about that for a moment. Maybe it's relationships. A chance to sit at the table with other business leaders and understand the challenges and your opportunities. Networking that turns into partnerships, customers, and friendships. Maybe it's visibility, having your business connected to something bigger than yourself. A chamber that celebrates growth, new beginnings, and milestones across our city. Or maybe it's something especially important in today's world, it's advocacy. Because whether you like it or not, decisions are made in City Hall, in Austin, or in Washington that directly affect how we do business every single day. And that's where the Chamber really shows its value. The Fort Worth Chamber is the leading voice of business in the fastest growing city in the nation. Our mission is simple but powerful. To bring Fort Worth region together to solve problems, align resources, and create a stronger business climate for everyone. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because your chamber is actively engaged locally, at the state level, and nationally, advocating for policies that support business growth, workforce development, infrastructure, and a competitive business environment. In fact, during each legislative session, the Fort Worth Chamber puts together a legislative agenda, working with elected officials and professional advocates to ensure the business community has a seat at the table and a voice that's heard. That's not politics. That's protecting jobs, that's protecting opportunity, that's protecting Fort Worth's future. So when somebody asks, what does the Chamber really do? The answer is simple. It works every day on your behalf. But here's the other side of the equation. Let me ask a second question. What do you want from your chamber? Because the chamber isn't a building, it's not a logo, and it's certainly not staff alone. The chamber is you, your engagement, your ideas, your participation, your willingness to show up, speak up, and help shape the future of this city. If you want stronger networking, lean in. If you want smarter advocacy, stay informed and get involved. And if you want Fort Worth to remain a city where businesses can start, grow, and thrive, this is where it happens. The work happens here. As your chairman, I can tell you with confidence, your chamber is listening, your chamber is working, and your chamber is committed to delivering value to the members whose logos you saw on the screen today. Thank you for your membership, thank you for your trust, and thank you for believing in Fort Worth. Together, we just don't do business, we mean business. Thank you very much.
Let's welcome back Steve Montgomery, President and CEO of the Fort Worth Chamber.
You know, one of the coolest parts about this job is I get to pick my walk-up music. So good afternoon again, everyone. And you just saw my past chairman and my new chairman, how blessed I am to have such great leadership on this board. So it's a privilege to stand before you today to reflect on the year of progress, the Fort Worth Chamber and the community, the business community that we proudly serve. The year 2025 was not simply about momentum, it was about building a stronger foundation for Fort Worth's economy and ensuring that the Chamber continues to meet the needs of one of the fastest growing communities, as Mike mentioned. One of the most important initiatives we launched in 2025 was a comprehensive strategic planning process. Because as Fort Worth grows and transforms, so too must your chamber that serves it. And that's why we began developing a 3-year strategic plan designed to ensure we're delivering meaningful value to our members, advocating effectively for our businesses community, and positioning Fort Worth for success. The planning effort brought together business leaders, civic stakeholders, and community partners around our defining question: how can the Chamber best serve businesses that fuel Fort Worth's prosperity? And the answer that we will be unveiling over the coming weeks will be a bold, forward-looking roadmap, one that keeps us focused where it matters most, ensuring Fort Worth competes and wins on a national and global stage. Advocacy remained a cornerstone of our work in 2025. During the recent regular session of the legislature, your Government Affairs and Policy Advocacy team worked diligently to represent the interests of Fort Worth businesses. We tracked thousands of bills and actively engaged on hundreds that carried real consequences for our business community. Because public policy matters. It shapes the environment in which you hire, in which you invest, and in which you grow. The Chamber's role is clear: to ensure that Fort Worth's voice is heard clearly, consistently, and effectively. One of the highlights of the session was Tarrant County Days in Austin, where we brought together local business leaders and state legislators for direct dialogue, giving policy makers the opportunity to hear directly from people that are building businesses, creating jobs, and driving our region forward. And it was advocacy at its best: personal, direct, and impactful. Of course, public policy is just one part of our advocacy mission. At the heart of the Chamber is our work supporting businesses that make our economy thrive. In the area of business retention and expansion, we focus heavily on listening to our members and helping them solve real-world challenges. And we lean into one simple but powerful principle: listen first. That spirit came to life during our annual Small Business Appreciation Walk, when Chamber staff and volunteers visited hundreds of businesses across the city in a single day, meeting owners where they are, hearing their stories, and understanding both their challenges and their aspirations. Those conversations reminded us that our role extends far beyond convening events. We're here to help businesses overcome obstacles and unlock opportunity and grow with confidence. I invite you to watch this video about the day to see what I am talking about.
I appreciate what y'all are doing today, which means you're going out to tell other small businesses how important they are to the city of Fort Worth.
It's basically this year-round. How do we reach out to our community of small businesses and connect and grow with them?
Hi, I'm Michael Crane. I represent District 3 on the Fort Worth City Council. I'm excited about today, just all the volunteers out talking to small businesses about the information they're going to gather, what we can do to make the city better for small businesses, and I know they're going to bring some ideas forward to us. As a small business owner myself, this is important for us to do, to engage with our small businesses and ensure that we are doing everything we can from a city perspective, from a chamber perspective, to answer their needs. I'm very excited again about the group going out and talking to people and really understanding on the ground what's happening and what they're seeing and how we can assist.
Our department is honored to partner with the Fort Worth Chamber on such an important initiative that shows support to all of our local businesses here in Fort Worth. Our goal is for us to utilize the survey data to understand where the gaps and challenges are and take those findings back to city leadership to see if there's a way to implement positive change that will help Fort Worth businesses grow overall. We really enjoy getting the opportunity to visit our businesses and really understanding, their needs and challenges. And the overall goal is to understand where they're at and if there's anything that we can do as a city to help them thrive and continue to grow here in Fort Worth.
It's a chance to give back. I spent 20 plus years traveling around the country, and this is an opportunity to connect with small businesses and really get tied back into the community. Ironically, Higginbotham started as a small company here in Fort Worth, so by connecting with other small businesses, we can help them grow and learn how to to trust the community and leverage the network just like we did to become a larger business.
What I'm hoping that people find when they go out is that our small businesses see that they're thriving. You know, they're a very important part of our economy here in Fort Worth, Texas, and that I'm hoping that they bring back some great stories about what's happening, and then also the challenges that we know we have. I know from last year's Business Appreciation Walk, they heard a lot from businesses about the homeless population and how they should work to deal with it. That really spawned and spurred the initiative that the task force that was created by the Chamber, and from there, the idea of putting more information out to those small businesses and a toolkit where they know where to go to get those resources to address those needs in the community.
I hope small businesses see this as the community coming together to really lift them up, give them an opportunity to find their people, so to say, on where they can have contacts and where they can have a network so that they can build their business to the next level that they want to be and ultimately just be successful in the city of Fort Worth.
So a special thank you to all our volunteers that day. That was a fantastic day for us. So we also expanded our workforce initiatives last year, working hand in hand with employers to address skills gaps and connect talent to opportunity. And this is an area that you will see us focus even more in the years to come, because workforce is not just an issue, it is the issue. And through our Welcome Fort Worth program in partnership with the City of Fort Worth and the Fort Worth EDP, we're ensuring that new and expanding companies don't just arrive, they thrive. By connecting them with the right people, the resources, and the networks, we're accelerating their success from day one. From the Carter Industrial Park to the West 7th Entertainment District, our commitment is clear. When businesses choose Fort Worth, we want them to succeed, to stay, and to grow. Collaboration continues to define Fort Worth's success. Time and again, the city has shown that when we work together, when we align around shared goals, we achieve more. The Fort Worth Chamber is not just an organization. It's a platform for collaboration. Let me repeat that. The Fort Worth Chamber is a platform for collaboration. Our partnerships across the economic development and advocacy ecosystem are essential to keeping Fort Worth competitive, innovative, and attractive for investment. Visit Fort Worth, Downtown Fort Worth, Inc., the Real Estate Council, Near Southside, Inc., Stockyards, Inc., Camp Bowie District, Fort Worth EDP, and of course, our friends at the City of Fort Worth are all incredibly valued partners. And when we all pull the wagon in the same direction, the impact is undeniable. A source of pride for me personally is a partnership with the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. Together, we're expanding access to opportunity and ensuring that every business, regardless of size or background, has the tools to succeed. And through our collaboration with the City of Fort Worth on the Small Business Development Program, we're helping local businesses better understand and access contracting opportunities, opening doors and creating pathways for growth. We also know that long-term economic prosperity is directly tied to educational success. That's why the Chamber has remained actively engaged in conversations surrounding both the Fort Worth Independent School District and the Lake Worth ISD. Our community works through the challenges and opportunities associated with the state intervention, we've been clear about one important principle. We cannot succeed as a community, as a business community, or a community at large, if our schools are not also succeeding. Strong schools build strong talent pipelines, and strong talent pipelines fuel strong economies. And our commitment is to be a constructive partner in ensuring that every student in Fort Worth has access to opportunity. And I'll take that. In 2025, we also strengthened how we serve our members. We refreshed our membership tiers and benefits to better align with your needs, delivering more targeted value at every level of engagement. At the same time, we fully deployed our business intelligence initiative, including our Size Up platform, providing powerful data, market insights, and competitive tools directly into the hands of Fort Worth businesses. Because as we know, in today's economy, access to information isn't just helpful, it's a competitive advantage. Throughout the year, the Chamber has convened important conversations on issues that matter. From global trade and tariffs to key industry insights in manufacturing, sports, healthcare, and aviation, to discussions through our Energy Council. We've worked to ensure that our members are informed, are prepared, and are positioned to succeed in a changing world. And as we look ahead to the FIFA World Cup 2026, we're working alongside hospitality and tourism partners to ensure that Fort Worth businesses capture the incredible opportunities that come with a global audience. 2025 also brought exciting developments that will shape our future. We celebrated the groundbreaking of UTA West, a transformational investment in higher education and workforce development, combined with the continued success and growth of Texas A&M, TCU, of Texas Wesleyan, Tarleton State, UNT Health, and Tarrant County College. Fort Worth is rapidly emerging as a hub of talent, innovation, and possibility. Last year, we also worked to empower the next generation with our Young Professionals Summit and elevated civic dialogue through our Leaders in Government series, bringing together voices that shape the future of our city. And through signature events like State of the County and State of the City, we highlighted new frontiers of opportunity, including the rise of Fort Worth's film and entertainment industry. And finally, when we look back at 2025, one thing is unmistakably clear. The future of the Fort Worth Chamber is being built intentionally on partnership, leadership, and shared vision for what this city can become. From strategic planning to policy and advocacy to small business support, workforce and talent development, and regional collaboration. Every effort is driven by a single goal, which is making Fort Worth the best place in America to start, grow, and operate a business. Fort Worth's future is bright, and our work is far from finished. Together, with each of you, we will continue to build a city where businesses flourish, innovation thrives, and opportunity is within reach for all. Thank you for the opportunity, for your leadership, for your partnership, and for your belief in this shared journey. The best is yet ahead. Before we move to the next portion of the program, I want to take another minute to once again thank our board of directors for their guidance and commitment, but a special call out to our past chairman, Brian Newby, a dear friend whose steady hand, keen eye, and devoted heart for Fort Worth has led us to both new heights and set us on a positive trajectory and a strong path forward. Thank you all once again.
Up next, presenting the Spirit of Enterprise Award, please welcome Chris Rooker, President of Business Insurance from Higginbotham.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's truly a privilege to be here today to represent Higginbotham and to present the Spirit of Enterprise Award this year. You may notice I'm not Rusty Reed, as in your agenda, you got the better looking version, Chris Rooker, and I'm just super happy to be here to attend. He got called away at the last minute, and I am an inadequate stand-in, but happy to do it. This award holds a special meaning for us at Higginbotham because we were awarded it last year. And we were just so honored to be the recipient. And we know firsthand what it means to be recognized by this great city of Fort Worth, this community in this way. And we're proud to be here to continue this tradition today with a new partner in Fort Worth. The Spirit of Enterprise Award celebrates companies that present the very best of what business leaders look like, what businesses look like. It recognizes organizations that are building great businesses, but more than that, they're building strong communities along the way. These are companies that invest in people, they're thinking long-term, they're taking risks, they're innovative. They're creating opportunities not only for themselves, but others. And I would add this commentary. These are also companies that are generously giving back to the communities they serve and they're serving those communities, and it round trips right back. In short, it recognizes the kind of entrepreneurial spirit that has always been part of Fort Worth's DNA. We felt that power, the spirit ourselves at Higginbotham, growing from a handful of people in 1948 to in 2025, going over 4,000 employees in 14 states across our footprint. But as we've spread beyond the walls of Fort Worth and Texas, this is still our home. This is where we got our DNA. This is where we continue to get our spirit and our energy as we go forward in the future. What I want to talk about very briefly is our honoree. And first, I'm going to go ahead and list them, and I'm going to ask them to walk up here in just a minute as I talk about them for a minute. But it's my honor to announce that the 2025 Spirit of Enterprise Award is being presented to Crescent Real Estate. With that, I would ask Christopher Goff and Andrew Lombardi to go ahead and make your way as I continue my comments. Absolutely. For decades, Crescent's been a driving force in shaping some of the most significant developments in Fort Worth and across Texas. Their work has helped define skylines, transform districts, and create places where people live, work, and gather. But what makes Crescent truly deserving of this award, among many things, is not just the scale at which they build, but it's the vision behind that. Their approach has always been about more than just real estate. It's been about creating destinations, about strengthening communities, attracting investors, and helping cities grow in sustainable ways and smart ways. They've consistently demonstrated what it means to take the long-term view, investing in projects that honor the character of a place while helping shape its future. That kind of leadership takes confidence, it does take patience, and it takes a true belief in the communities that you serve. That kind of leadership is amazing, and Fort Worth has benefited greatly from that vision. Crescent's work has helped strengthen our economy, attract new businesses and talent, and continues to position Fort Worth as one of the most dynamic cities in the country. And just as importantly, they've been a strong partner in the community, supporting organizations, initiatives, and leaders who are helping Fort Worth continue to thrive. That combination of entrepreneurship, vision, community, commitment, that's exactly what the Spirit of Enterprise Award was created to recognize. Please join me in congratulating the 2025 Spirit of Enterprise Award winner, Crescent Real Estate. How about I give them the award now that I'm all done? Okay, good.
For 130 years, the University of Texas at Arlington has been a place where Mavericks push boundaries and redefine what's possible. With our expansion into Fort Worth, we're stepping into a new era. UTA West, our new campus underway in Parker County, isn't just about geography, it's about a growing university meeting the needs of a growing region and shaping what comes next. 130 years of ambition, of dreaming big, of being Mavericks. UTA, 130 years and counting.
Please welcome Dr. Wayne Atchley of the University of Texas at Arlington.
So I didn't get to pick my walk-up music, but I had a great bass part, so I'm excited about that. Well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the University of Texas at Arlington, thank you to the Fort Worth Chamber for the opportunity to serve as the presenting sponsor of today's keynote conversation. We're proud to be part of an event that celebrates the strength and resilience and entrepreneurial spirit that have long defined the Fort Worth business community. This year's theme, Legacy-Driven, Future-Focused, resonates deeply with us at UTA. Last year, we celebrated our 130th anniversary, marking a journey we began in 1895 when Arlington College first opened its doors. Over the many decades since, that small institution has evolved into one of the largest and most dynamic universities in Texas. And like many great organizations, our history has been shaped by a willingness to adapt, to grow, to innovate, and to continue serving the needs of a rapidly changing region. Now, we're looking ahead to the next 130 years, and that includes Fort Worth. With the development of UTA West, we're expanding our presence in this region, creating new opportunities for students, strengthening workforce pipelines, and deepening our partnerships with the industries and communities driving North Texas forward. That idea, honoring where you've been while building for what comes next, is exactly what today's keynote panel is all about. The discussion you're about to hear is titled, Built to Last, Fort Worth Century Businesses. It features leaders from 3 organizations that have each been part of the fabric of this community for more than 100 years. Businesses that have weathered economic cycles, industry transformations, and generational change. And yet through all of it, they have endured. Not just by preserving their history, but by continuing to evolve. These organizations have found ways to balance tradition with innovation, to honor their foundations while adapting to the demands of a modern economy. In many ways, their stories reflect the story of Fort Worth itself. Helping guide this conversation today is someone who knows a great deal about the history of the community and the people who have shaped it. Judge Quentin McGowan is a Tarrant County probate judge, a respected community leader, and a passionate historian of Fort Worth. He brings a unique perspective on the people, events, and decisions that have helped define this city over time. We're grateful for his leadership in moderating today's discussion. So please join me in welcoming Judge Quentin McGowan and our panelists, Colby Adams, Senior Advisor at the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, Bob Pence, Chairman of the Board at Freese & Nichols, and Michael Sweet, President of Benny Keith Foods. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As we sit here in this spectacularly historic building, it's a time to reflect a little bit on this idea of a centennial business, those businesses that have been here for, in many cases, a lot longer than just 100 years. We are lucky to live in, I think, one of the greatest cities in the country. We have a future that is unparalleled, but that future builds on the shoulders and the foundations of some remarkable businesses. So with us here today, I know representatives of 3 entities that have, it's impossible to imagine Fort Worth without them. As we were coming together with what questions in this short amount of time that we've got to talk about this legacy, this idea of nurturing, that with Benny Keith, we have nourishment of the body. And it's hard to imagine Fort Worth in its early years without beer. In Freese & Nichols, we have nurture of our physical reality. It's impossible to imagine North Texas without the efforts and the work that Freese & Nichols has provided long in all of these years since Major Hawley established the company back in 1894. And then through the seminary, I mean, the issue of nurturing our spirit. And as we talked a minute ago, as Jim was looking down that list of educational institutions, of what we provide to the citizens of this city, amazing gifts. We are lucky to live here, whether you got here yesterday or whether your families arrived here before the fort was established. But today we're going to hear some perspectives from these companies of what does it mean? What did it take to last 100 years? That long list that you have seen of these 100-year companies, some have gone into different hands. Today we're talking to companies that have remained locally controlled, locally owned, and have done so much to make this city what it is today. So on the panel, the first question we were going to play with was, given that likely thousands of businesses have opened and closed over the course of the long history of this city, what is it that you attribute your firm's longevity and history and staying power? And who would like to start? Bob, you're the oldest company, so let's start with you.
And though it may look this way, I have not been at Freese & Nichols for 132 years. But I had to think a little long and hard, made some cheat notes for my old age. But I came to Freese & Nichols in 1978, I've been there 48 years. And I knew the Nichols and the Freeses and Mr. Freese and all the leadership. But I think some of the things I think attributed our long-term success. In our 132 years, we've only had 7 CEOs over that whole period. So think about that. That's some really stable leadership. The other thing is we've been able to maintain our culture, and we work hard at doing that. That's not just something that happens. We work hard to maintain our culture. And I'm talking about when I arrived, a little over 100 people. We're at about 1,400 people now. We've solved our ownership transition issues and how to do that. And some of the older ownership leadership had to give something up in order to do that. And that was a gift to us, and we're going to pass that gift down. I think one of the things that's really propelled us, when Bob Hertrich was CEO, he put us on the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Journey, Ronald Reagan's quality award that he handed out. We've been awarded it twice, and that has really stabilized our company. And I had a little bit of luck, and finally, I think probably the most important thing is a very singular focus on our clients and putting our clients first over our own benefit.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, ours is very similar. First, I'd like to say Fort Worth is an incredible place to have your corporate headquarters located. And we're very proud of that. And, the amount of diverse talent that we got to choose from now, the local government and associations being so supportive of our business as well as state. So we're very proud of that. And we have a lot of visitors come in town, and they're very excited to hear about Fort Worth. And we're proud to show it off. But very similar, our biggest advantage is also being privately owned and operated. Going back to Mr. Keith and now with the Hallam family. And it's really, they take an approach that the family serves the business does not serve the family. And that's something that permeates throughout the organization. Our culture is very important. It's something that we are very conscious of, regardless of what your title is or your tenure, but everyone plays a role in fostering that culture. It's how you treat people, it's how you treat each other within the organization, how you treat your trading partners, and how you treat the community. And we were very proud to do that. And we're all keepers of that culture. And that's something that has kept us in Fort Worth for as long as we have, and we're very proud of that.
Thank you. I'll give a little history here. So Southwestern Seminary is 118 years old. And to answer the question, I think one of the factors that has allowed us to survive is the deep roots in Fort Worth. And really, you have to go back to the beginning to see those. We were founded in 1908 and immediately began a search across Texas for where we would call home. And cities across the state competed for this new institution, this new seminary, in the same way that corporate relocations happen today, and everybody was offering their best package. Well, in Fort Worth, a group of business leaders, elected officials, church leaders came together and offered a package of 250 acres, but also $100,000 to help build our first building. That would be $3.3 million today, so not insignificant. And that was really what put Fort Worth over the top, and it wasn't really close when it came to making the decision. And so it was those deep roots from the start. That first building was named Fort Worth Hall. It was opened in 1910. 116 years later, it's still operational today. But then you fast forward to now, and if you've read newspapers in the last few years, you've seen that the seminary's been through some challenges. But it was, again, those deep roots in Fort Worth that brought us through. And I think about partners like Frost Bank, like Kelly Hart, like others who really locked arms with us in our most difficult seasons. And we were able to come through that, where today I can sit here and say we've had 3 straight years of enrollment growth. We've turned the corner financially and are as healthy as we have been in decades. And I think that can be directly attributed to those Fort Worth partners and those deep roots we have here.
Absolutely. The second thought that we had here was, how does your corporate history influence today's operations and decisions about the future? And do they?
Absolutely. And I'll say one blessing we've had at Freese Nichols, that Mr. Freese worked there till he was almost 90. Jim Nichols worked there till he was 92. Bob Nichols worked there till he was 90. And Lee Freese worked there till he was 86. And we've been blessed to have them. And one thing that Jim Nichols always emphasized was maintaining a continuity of service. How do we continue to serve our clients, and what do we have to do to get there? And we actually considered merging with another company because of economic times, and should we do that, and will that allow us to have our continuity of service? Now, we decided no, we weren't going to do that, and we've made a very firm decision to be a legacy firm and to pass on to the next generations. The other thing that is a history of our company that is really huge is giving back to our communities. And I remember when we celebrated our 100th anniversary, we spent a lot of money, had a big party, and regretted it. Had spender's remorse, I think they call it. And so in 110 years, I got my marketing team together and said, I want to do something different. I don't want to have a big party. It's too self-serving. And they said, why don't we ask our employees to give 110 hours of community service? And we started doing that and logging that in, and we recognized those that hit that 110 hours. And it's just amazing. We had 20-something thousand hours logged into our computer that first year. So it's just been a great history for us. And because our history is important to us, we spend one full day in new employee orientation, and one of the sessions we give is a history session of the company. And we were smart enough to do a recording of Jim and Bob Nichols in the past, talk about how the company formed and the things that happened over the years. And Mr. Freese himself kept diaries, and we actually paid a good sum of money to write a book. It was a bestseller. Probably many of you have it on your shelf. But we wrote a book on the history of Freese and Nichols, which will, if you have insomnia, I promise you it'll get you where you want to be. But it's a great study of the urbanization of Texas and how we progressed.
Absolutely.
Well, mine would be summed up by just a quote from Mr. Keith. And Mr. Keith was a great leader for obviously our company, but also for the city of Fort Worth. Did a lot for the community, but he always used to say, pioneering is eternal. And what we mean by that is we enjoy our successes, we celebrate them, but we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to evolve. We're always trying to do better than we had before. And it's kind of that humble and hungry because we're only as good as our last delivery. We got to prove ourselves every day, and that mindset allows us to continue, regardless of how long you've been there, regardless of your business title, you can always do better. And in the food industry, which is always changing, it's so true. And it's not just growing geographically or pioneering it geographically, but it's getting into how you develop your employees, how you set them up for the next job, how do you invest in technology. And so that's been a battle cry for us, kind of our North Star is pioneering is eternal.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that pioneering spirit. I think, the two words or concepts that come to mind when I think about our culture is really innovation and bold leadership. When the seminary came here in 1909, it was a new venture. Our founder, B.H. Carroll, separated from Baylor University, split out the theology department there, started this new institution, found a new home, and opened the campus all within a matter of 3 years. When I think of higher education institutions today, I don't think of swift action. But he really rejected this idea of incrementalism. He had a vision and he went after it. And even the 250 acres that became our campus, this was an incredibly innovative approach. It was given so that the 30 acres in the core would really be the academic campus, but the rest of it could be developed out into subdivisions and neighborhoods, and the seminary would benefit from the proceeds of that, and that would fund operations. And so it really was a master plan development executed in 1909. I fast forward to today, in 2022, when we faced some challenges, we really went back to that same spirit. One, we were very transparent and honest about the challenges we faced. We addressed them head on and dealt with them. And then we went back to the drawing board to that original vision. And so today, and over the last couple years, what the seminary has done has said, hey, we had a 200-acre campus still. About 80 acres of that was actively being used. And so we thought, how can we leverage that in the same spirit of our founding to really propel the mission forward into the next generation? And so we've been able to partner with great folks like Rainwater, the New Community Land Trust, the City of Fort Worth, to come up with new approaches to see affordable housing developed in our area. We're currently working through a process of looking for other open land and how that can be developed in the same way that we were the original development in that area of Fort Worth. Today, we can hopefully be a catalyst to see the revitalization and redevelopment of that area of Fort Worth.
The last question that we had, was what would your founders think about what your company has become? But before we get to that question, let me tell you a little bit about these founders, and I think the colossal personalities that they represented. Beginning with Major John Hawley, who established what's now Freese and Nichols. He arrived here in Fort Worth in 1892 to take charge of the new water treatment facility, which is right where the Holly plant is today, over there between 7th Street and University Drive. His original building that used to house the giant steam engine that pumped water is partially still there. But this was just after Fort Worth had gone through a series of miserable epidemics. We gathered our water either from artesian systems or from the Trinity River. Think about drinking the Trinity River water today, just straight out. So his goal of creating a safe supply of drinking water really was the foundation of the company. That would eventually lead to the development, certainly of White Rock Lake in Dallas, of Lake Worth, in Fort Worth when it completed in 1914, and then Bridgeport and Eagle Mountain, out of all of those moving up the West Fork of the Trinity. He was brought here by John Peter Smith, of course, a name we all know, who had served as mayor during many of those terrible epidemics. His pioneering effort was laying a sanitary sewer system, at trying to create the bones that would let a frontier town grow into the city that we have today. And there is no greater role that's been played in that growth than by Freese and Nichols. And I think as we look down toward the next 20 to 30 years, when we're expected to have a population of 12 million in our little multi-county region in North Texas, and where the Trinity River supplies water to nearly half the population of Texas today, the efforts that Major Hawley saw, and arguing with city leaders, there were many who said, our artesian water system is going to last forever. We don't need reservoirs, we don't need clean systems. But he fought that battle and he won. I mean, an enormous personality as it goes in the history of Fort Worth. Mr. Keith served as president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1917, and was largely responsible for bringing the almost 2,000-acre sprawling Camp Bowie, the World War I training camp, to Fort Worth, out along, again, what's now Camp Bowie Boulevard. He was an aviation enthusiast. As we look at American Airlines, celebrating their centennial this year, well, their roots go back even farther in Fort Worth, when Mr. Keith and several others saw the first airplanes come into Fort Worth in 1911 and said, that is our future. And they made it so. But again, larger than life. This man supplying the food, the beer, the libations to what well into the early part of the 20th century we housed one of the largest entertainment districts in the state, our wild place out on the frontier. Of course, B.H. Carroll, who would stand up to Baylor University and say, no, we need to separate this relationship if the seminary that I've envisioned is going to grow into the entity that it is today. So, we have three enormous figures that started these companies that have let them last for 100 years. So we get to this final question now. What do you think they would think about what your companies have become?
Well, simply, I think they'd be stunned but not surprised. I remember Jim Nichols talking about it. He said, John, Mr. Hawley would never believe what we've done at this point and how we got to this size. When I started in '78, we had an office in Fort Worth and an office in Austin, and that was the extent of the company. And today we're in 7 states and looking to expand more. But I would hope they would say we've been good and faithful servants.
And lived up to the vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would simply say he would be extremely proud. One, that we've been around for 120 years. Be proud of our growth. We're one of the largest beer distributors in the country. We're the 5th largest food. We've got, in the food side, we go to 22 states. And as an example, part of our inventory is private label, so it has our label on the box or whatever. The most common one y'all may see is sugar packets. And whether you're in Fort Worth, Denver, or Charlotte, it says proudly distributed by Benny Keith Foods of Fort Worth, Texas. He'd be very proud of that. But I think more than anything, he'd be proud of the employees and the stories that we have of employees who might not have gone to college, who graduated or who retired as a vice president, who put their kids through college due to the work at Benny Keith, through working hard and earning a good living. I think he'd be the most proud of that and what that brought to the city and the citizens of Fort Worth.
So B.H. Carroll died in 1914, and at that time the seminary was a single building on a hilltop 3 miles south of downtown Fort Worth. I think he would be blown away by not just what the seminary has become, but what the city of Fort Worth has become today. At the seminary, we've now graduated over 50,000 students that are serving on every inhabitable continent in the world. We have students today from over 50 countries that are enrolled right now. I think the scope of that impact would stun him, but he was a 6'4" former cavalryman who had a pretty spirited temper, and I think he would have some pretty harsh words about some of the missteps over the last 118 years. But in the end, I think he would be pleased at the vision being fulfilled.
Each of these stories is remarkable, and as we were looking down again at this centennial list, and I counted, I think, 47 sponsors for the meeting this year. Fully a quarter of those, 25% of those 47 sponsors are centennial companies. I think that's an amazing statement on, I think, the nurturing of the business community in Fort Worth, that companies can form here and stay here. But as we look at those, we go back to Canty Hanger in 1882, certainly Benny Keith in its early history. This year, Barber's Bookstore makes it to the centennial, which I think is an amazing thing considering there are hardly any bookstores left. The historic African-American congregations dating back to 1875. The Chamber of Commerce itself, starting in 1882. And when it began, it was called the Board of Trade. And they built in 1889 what I still think was one of the prettiest buildings ever built here, demolished in 1949 to make way for the new Continental National Bank Tower. But the feature of that Board of Trade building was at that point, it was the tallest building in the city. And they had a 360-degree walk-around at the top of the tower on that building, designed specifically to display everything Fort Worth had to offer, to invite investment, to invite new businesses to come here. And that thought of standing on that building in 1882, when it was actually taller than the courthouse at the time, predating the one we have now, and looking at where the chamber has taken the city over the last 140 some odd years. Of course, the stock show and rodeo dating back to 1896. Justin, longer, going way back farther than that, but eventually coming and opening its plant here in Fort Worth in 1911. Peter's Brothers Hat, it's just down the street in downtown to 1896. The Reynolds Cattle Company, the most legendary livestock operations in the history of the state, starting in 1901 and headquartering here. Texas Wesleyan in 1890, and I really appreciated Steve talking about that long line of the education history. And Colby, that 1909-1910 period was an extraordinary one for Fort Worth, because not only did we have the opportunity to solicit the seminary coming, but to bring TCU back home. TCU, of course, had started here back as a small school for young boys and girls downtown, and one day the two brothers, Addison and Randolph Clark, and their sister who started the school, looked up and realized that our Hell's Half Acre was getting perilously close to their little Christian academy. So they packed up and they left Fort Worth, headed down to Thorpe Springs, and eventually would build a campus in Waco. And when their main campus burned in 1909, every city in the state wanted TCU to relocate to them. And in a similar move, the donation of land, the guarantee that the streetcar line would be extended out to the new campus, brought this amazing shift in education as they joined Texas Wesleyan. And then we bid goodbye to the old Fort Worth University that would leave here and go on to become what's now Oklahoma City University. But that spirit of the community, the entire community together, pulling together with subscriptions to raise the funds, with land donations, with whatever it took to keep businesses going, and continues today. And it's, I think, an amazing gift for us and bodes well for our future. So we've got a couple of minutes left. Any final remarks, in talking about your company, and what would you like to say?
I love my company.
I do too.
And I would just say thank you to everybody in this room. The legacy that's gone on for the last 118 years. We would not be here today were it not for the people in this room and the people who have come before you.
That's it. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for what you do for the companies and the city. And now it is my pleasure to bring Steve back out for, I think, his closing remarks, so nobody leave just yet. That's
Thank you so much. We're going to wrap up, but I just wanted to give another round of applause to our incredible guests, Judge McGowan, Colby, Mike, and Bob. Thank you so much. We wouldn't have learned so much of it not for Judge McGowan. He's just amazing. I can listen to him all the time. And of course, thank you again to our keynote and presenting sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Frost, and University of Texas at Arlington. Conversations like these remind us that the most successful organizations are those who understand how to balance legacy with innovation, honoring history while continuing to evolve. And that's exactly what we mean when we talk about a modern chamber, one that's legacy-driven and future-focused. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you to do a couple of things. If y'all could put up the QR code for our annual report, if you would take a look at that, or if we get into the lobby, take a peek at that. And also, we've got for our annual report, and then we have another one for our survey. As you know, we're in the middle of our data collection for our strategic planning, and we really need stakeholder input. We've done a lot of interviews and focus groups and surveys, but we really want your input and your guidance for what this chamber can and will be, how it will provide value to our community. So if you would please scan the QR code. If you've not already taken the survey, we would appreciate it. Now, just down the hall towards the Coliseum, a lobby, you'll find food, drinks, and music, along with special museum-style exhibit featuring our Centennial Club in the Will Rogers Tower Rotunda. In there, we celebrate Fort Worth businesses and institutions that have been open and operating for more than 100 years, organizations that have helped shape the character and success of our great city for generations. And it's a great opportunity to see their history in photos and videos of some of our most enduring institutions. After seeing the exhibit, you might also want to swing over into the recently updated Coliseum itself, where our friends at the National Cutting Horse Association are in the middle of competition and have welcomed our guests to come watch the action. And the restrooms themselves are worth the price of admission. So when you do, make your way out. Please scan the QR codes in the lobby and download our annual report. And before you leave, do all that, please. I think with that, we're adjourned. Thank you so much. Enjoy the reception.